Today we will talk about jowls, those sags along the lower jaw that are also called bulldog cheeks and which can be so visually irritating that you just don't even want to look in the mirror anymore. And many people think that the main reason for the appearance of these jowls is the so-called force of gravity, or perhaps excess body weight, or simply the natural process of aging. And generally, that there's no escape in this, and you either have to accept it or go straight to a surgeon. But in reality, jowls can very much be removed without resorting to such extreme methods. And for that, we first need to understand the reasons for their appearance. Where do they actually come from? No one is born with jowls from the start. While a double chin might be there from birth due to a bite, jowls are not, they just appear. So, to more clearly illustrate how our internal tissues function within the face, let's imagine the face as a stretched tent or a canopy. What does a tent have? There is a certain framework. In our case, if we consider the face, it's the lower jaw, the skull, that's our base, our foundation. A tent also has guy ropes, and muscles fulfill the role of these ropes. And the tent itself is stretched over these very ropes, which means our soft tissues, specifically the skin and subcutaneous fat. And let's try to picture this now. If a tense or a tarps guy line is pulled too tight, I mean really over-tightened, what will happen then? The fabric will begin to gather into creases, and in certain areas you might see actual sagging or simply persistent folds, while elsewhere, on the contrary, it will become much more stretched, and the entire framework could shift, pulled by the tightened cables. Exactly the same process occurs within the face. If a muscle becomes overly tense, it will start to pull all of the surrounding tissues towards itself. To be more specific, we have our chewing muscles. They are very strong, and they chew food for us every single day. We often clench our teeth when we are under a lot of stress. At night, it's common for people to frequently clench their teeth. Due to this persistent, ongoing stress, these specific muscles remain perpetually in a contracted state and they, as it were, become accustomed to this particular position, and you might say they actually shorten. And once they have shortened, they then begin to pull the lower jaw backward and upward towards the zygomatic bone, where they are firmly attached. At the same time, this muscle, which is called the platisma, is also very often tense for us, because of incorrect posture, because of a forward jutting neck, because of hunched shoulders, because of facial expressions, and so on. It also starts to shorten and pull everything downwards. A rather noticeable pouch is already starting to form here. And we also have muscles that pull down the corners of the mouth, which are very often tense, simply due to clenched lips, due to an incorrect smile pattern. You know, when your smile goes down, not up. It also begins to shorten, forming a really clear, defined border for the jowls right here. I'm sure you've often seen and paid attention that sometimes, when a person has jowls, there's a very clearly visible boundary, a distinct band. This muscular imbalance naturally also further exacerbates the circulation of fluids within our bodies, specifically the flow of lymph, and it then begins to accumulate in this area, leading to even greater feelings of heaviness and noticeable sagging. And let's summarize what is truly important here. The presence of jowls is not merely due to aging. It's not solely about gravity, but rather it's a consequence of muscular imbalance. If we cannot fight against aging and with gravity, well, we simply cannot fight it. We will still mature, grow old, and so forth, and gravity will still act upon us. But with muscular imbalance, we can work. What's another important point before we begin our work? You need to understand what type of jowls you have. So, the first type is asthenic, when the face itself is thin, without any excess weight, looking tired, and the jowls, they resemble more like folds of skin that are sagging. There is also a second type, which is typical for individuals who are prone to fluid retention, people who are inclined to develop edema, or those who carry excess weight. There, the jowls already resemble more of a roll. So, if you have the second type, it's important to understand that the exercises we're going to do will certainly have their desired effect. But it is very important and necessary for you to work with the swelling. For this, I have a separate video that you can follow. Well, ideally, of course, it's important to address swelling not just in your face. If you generally have such a predisposition, then most likely you have some swelling throughout your entire body. And it's worth paying attention to this and actively working on it. Before we move on, please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. This is truly important to me, so that even more people can discover my videos. Alright, to begin with, we'll naturally be focusing on the masseter muscle. This is a very large and important muscle, I'll say it again, and its relaxation very significantly affects how distinct, defined, and beautiful the contour of the lower jaw is. So, to begin, we first need to locate this particular muscle. It is firmly attached to the zygomatic bone and then extends downwards towards the lower jaw. It's located right here. It is quite a large and very broad muscle. To ensure we don't make a mistake when performing the exercise, we need to feel our face. And, for example, the closer you get to the ear, the more density you'll feel beneath your fingers. Even now, as I'm speaking, or if you clench your teeth, you'll really feel the muscle moving under your fingers. Try to feel its entire length, from top to bottom. You'll understand when you've moved off it, because you'll start to feel your teeth under your fingers. Teeth, gums, you can really feel your face. Feel it thoroughly. As soon as you feel dense tissue past your teeth, that means it's your chewing muscle. That means you're exactly where you need to be. We need to make our fingers into a little hook, like this. And then we place this hook right under the cheekbone, where the muscle begins. Move closer to the ear. Slightly open your mouth. Just let it simply drop open. You don't need to open it wide and hold it. You need him to, quite the opposite, relax as much as possible. He just dropped off. Meanwhile, please sit up nice and straight, lower your shoulders down, don't pull them up. Reach up with the crown of your head. Don't jut your head forward. Sit perfectly straight. Place your fingers, gently press, as if you're delving into this muscle. We're not pressing so hard that it really hurts, but we've gently sunk in, like fingers sinking into clay. So you've sunk into the muscle, and now, under their own weight, they are slowly, firmly descending downwards. Very slowly, we don't need to rush. Actually, this exercise is perfect. You can do it anywhere you like, even on the bus while you're traveling, with just one finger, for instance. Not necessarily two, just one, so you can simply get a feel for it. Then come home, sit down calmly in a quiet environment. And really, let yourself feel everything that's happening, how you've positioned your fingers and how they're deeply working into that muscle. It might be a bit painful, by the way. That's perfectly normal. Your muscles are currently very constricted, very tightly bound, and it might feel quite sore. This is actually a very common occurrence. You can do 2 to 3 minutes. When you do it yourself, 2 to 3 minutes, don't be afraid, by the way, to stretch the skin. You won't stretch anything here. You move very tightly along the tissues. You don't pull, you don't work on the skin, you work in the muscle. You won't do anything to your skin, but if you're uncomfortable, everyone who's feeling fine, keep doing it. Meanwhile, I'll explain to those who are uncomfortable, who still have this unpleasant feeling that maybe you might hurt yourself, even though that's not true. But even so, you can use your knuckles. Just massage this muscle, working it thoroughly, point by point. You need to firmly move your hands like this, covering the entire length of the muscle. Overall, it doesn't really matter how you choose to relax it. The most important thing is that you manage to relax it. Let's continue. For those who prefer, you can certainly keep working with your knuckles, but the mouth must always be slightly open. That's the main condition. All right, we're going to finish this exercise now and try to pay attention. When we reach the end, right up to the corner, here you can pause for a short while and also make these sewing movements. This is right on, at the muscle's attachment point. Now you can gently close your eyes, take a slow breath in and out, and really try to feel what is happening deep within your chewing muscles. You should begin to notice a distinct lightness, as if your jaw no longer wishes to clench and it simply wants to stay in this wonderfully relaxed position. If in fact it's possible that you might feel, on the contrary, even more tension, this primarily indicates that you weren't able to relax, that most likely you are holding your jaw. You didn't just relax it, letting it drop naturally. Instead, you opened it and diligently held it. And, well, consequently, you are straining it. That's something that can happen. Just try to really make an effort to relax next time. Again, find a calm and quiet place and repeat it once more. Our next exercise will be specifically designed to mobilize the temporomandibular joint and also to provide a good stretch, including relaxing the masseter muscle. Additionally, we'll also engage another crucial part of the masticatory system, the temporal muscle. We need to place the base of the palm on the temples. Sit up straight, shoulders relaxed, the crown of your head reaching up. Place your hands on your temples and gently pull them towards the crown of your head. If you clench your teeth, you should feel the temporal muscle tense up under your hands. And in this position, we'll need to open and close our mouth. It's very important. We open our mouth to a maximum 80%, not 100%, and it's very important. You shouldn't have any clicks, pain, cracking, or crunching. If you happen to notice it at any point, then we must open our mouth before it actually occurs. This means there should be absolutely no clicking or crunching sounds, even if your mouth opens just a tiny bit. Every single click, every single crunch is a small trauma to the joint. We simply cannot allow this to happen. So, sit up straight and let's begin to release the tension in your temples, opening and closing your mouth. You can continue. I'll just make a couple of remarks for now. Don't pay attention to me. How it opens for me, that's my own business. Just do it however it works for you. Try to keep your jaw from wobbling. Just pay close attention to it and mentally try to slowly, carefully open your mouth. Then slowly close it, trying to do it with the utmost control. If it wobbles, it's fine. Just let it be that way. But each time, try to think of it and pay attention to it, and gradually these wobbles will slowly fade away. And try to do everything in front of a mirror. I don't have one here now and I feel a bit uncomfortable. Excellent. You can perform this exercise from 10 to 20 times with such careful, slow mouth opening and closing. Now, just like that, sit for a moment and feel what you are experiencing. Perhaps you might notice a certain sensation, specifically in your temples. Sometimes it might even release the tension in your neck. We're going to work on the neck, specifically the Platisma muscle, which covers this entire area of your neck. And similarly, due to tension, it can contract and pull everything down. To begin, simply tilt your head from one side to the other and stretch your upper ear towards the ceiling. Just relax your shoulders down. We will work a little bit. For stretching all your efforts, we are simply dividing them by 3. And try to feel a gentle, slight tension along the side surface of your neck. Don't strain your ear up to the ceiling or pull your shoulders down too hard. Everything should be smooth, gentle, and as pleasant as possible. Do not, under any circumstances, cause yourself any pain. Stay in this position and now, very carefully, with your fingers, begin to gently massage our muscle. In the middle here, we don't do anything. This is where the thyroid gland and trachea are, so don't touch anything here. However, along the side surface, along the entire side surface, you can work even extending to the back. This will definitely not be superfluous. Even though it's not the platisma we're talking about, the more of your neck surface area you manage to work on, believe me, the better. You can do it like this too, both circular motions and robin motions. Overall, it's not that important. You can also slightly, just a little bit, tilt your chin upwards and feel a slight tension right here, until you feel a gentle tension and continue. We reach the collarbone and we try to massage both the area above it and the area below it. There are no strict rules here concerning the exact way you should be massaging. The most important thing is that it should feel both noticeable and pleasant. So you will also feel the difference, how everything here has become so free and easy, and how the tension is felt right here, and then tilted to this side. If you're interested, if you liked what I'm saying and these sensations, I have full training programs specifically for this issue, for jowls. You can watch it and follow along. And, of course, I also have a great many exercises for other facial zones. I always suggest working with the entire face at once and not focusing solely on one specific problem area, because the face differs in its structure from the body. And here, almost all muscles are interconnected. They very strongly influence each other. And you'll achieve a much better effect if you work with your entire face and neck, definitely with your neck and posture. I'd like you to also take a moment to really feel what is happening deep inside you. Is it perhaps a cool sensation or maybe a gentle feeling of warmth? How exactly do you personally perceive it? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for practicing with me today. Even small releases like this make a big difference over time. Hit like if this was helpful and subscribe so you don't miss new facelifting videos every week. See you in the next session.